Snotty dog. Snotty dog. Okie doke. Now there, you can't step on the cord there. Okay, you ready?
Yep.
You're supposed to say like action.
Action.
Too late now, you gotta start all over again.
All right.
Okay.
Action.
Okay. All right, we do a lot of stuff here. Some of the things we do are trying to introduce species that are native, that have always been around, plus bringing in new species that haven't really been grown in these areas before. And this is one example. This is a bed we put in for sugarcane. We took out all the sod, turned up all the dirt, dug trenches, planted the cane. We planted some last year. It didn't do quite as good as we thought due to poor storage over the winter. So this year we planted it in the fall, and we're hoping to have a nice bed of sugarcane to come up. And once it's there, we'll have a source of sweetener for either cane juice, boil that down into molasses, or turn into other products that you can make with sugarcane. And to utilize the space, because sugarcane is kind of late in coming up in the year, we have this cross planted in zucchini and squash, and we also put a few other things in this bed later on in the year. If you notice around this part of the yard, we just had the lawn mowed today, or lawn cut. And this area we kind of leave in the natural habitat for at least half the summer, so the bees and things can be really happy pollinating it all and draw them to the yard and other pollinators, so we have effective pollination in our garden and with all our other beds we have out here. We've got a lot of different kind of ornamentals and things with bushes, but a lot of the trees produce either a nut or some type of fruit or berry that animals eat that we don't really consume, and that's more to help the wildlife in the area as well. We've got a lot of oak trees and things, and some unusual species, but like I say, most of them bring beneficial things to the yard and to the farm to help pollinate and make things nice and healthy and growing. The flower beds here we've had put in by different sets of volunteers. They've dug out everything, helped prep the bed, and that's another case where we removed the sod, turned the dirt, and then planted everything. And all these beds have a mixture of, there's a few ornamental flowers just for looks, but the majority of the species are either edible or medicinal. We have things like the daylilies, different types of balms like bee balm, lemon balm. We have yarrow, and a myriad of other types of things that are edible or usable. And a lot of times on the edges of the beds we'll have different weeds to sprout, like we have some sheep sorrel that's just come up. And actually this is running, so it's a little bit too late to eat it, but if you find that when it's younger, it's got a nice lemony tart taste. And so you get a lot of different things out of your beds. We're always transplanting and moving things and checking things out, and like I say, this is like our native wisteria, or it's really nice. And our azaleas always are blooming in the spring, and those are more for color and to let everybody know spring's gotten here. And then we have something that had just sprouted here when I moved home to start taking care of the property. But I recognized what it was and kept it, and we've had them spread all through here. Here's a major example. This is sassafras, and the young leaves like this, if you harvest them, dry them, let them get a little bit bigger too, you can use them up until they're almost full size. But if you dry them and crumple them up into soups and stuff, it's considered filet by the Cajuns. And a lot of Cajun cooking, they use the sassafras leaf. And if you dig up a root from it, skin it off, put it into, and shave it down into pieces, put it in a pot of water, make sassafras tea, which is a really good tonic. So we've also got some fruit trees out here. This is like a red plum. We got a peach tree there. Maybe they'll do something this year. And then as you walk through the yard, we'll shoot over here for a second. Let's go around the tree. But here's another beneficial medicinal plant. This is yarrow. Yarrow is a natural antiseptic antibiotic. It basically kills bacteria and things. If snotty doesn't get in the way. And it's handy, just to have around. So if you get a small cut or abrasion, you can squeeze the juice out of a few fronds and take care of it. Not have to worry about infection. And Snotty is a famous possum killer. There's one of his victims. Possums eat their chickens and everything, so, and eggs. So we don't want possums here, and Snotty's great for getting rid of them. Over here we've got something new this year. We put in 250 asparagus plants here. They'll grow 2 years before we start to harvest. But you can see we've already got a really nice crop up here now. It's already run, and it's turning into the actual asparagus plant, where what you'd normally buy in the grocery store are the sprouts or shoots from it. They're a lot younger, but we'll see some of those later. And we have a huge problem on the farm with animals that just like walking through everything you've got planted. And we've also got some plants on the side, some Indian hawthorns and some hostas and elephant ears, and those are mainly for ornamental things, but elephant ears are edible. In the South Pacific and Hawaii, it's called taro, and it's a major starch component of their diet. And let's proceed. We had a dry spot here in the yard that it was kind of tough to get stuff to grow. The grass would always die there, but I had a few yuccas, which are very dry conditioned plant-loving plants, actually from the desert areas. And we also have some agave in here, some prickly pear cactus, and a rosemary. Rosemary likes a dry, arid climate as well. But the yucca, see if I can find a good thing. I come out here earlier and got a piece of this to demonstrate. Oh. But yucca, one of the colloquial names for it is Adam's needle. And if you take a dried frond from it, kind of rub it between your hands, you're going to end up with a needle, and the twisting, you twist your fibers. And fibers, you can use this as a quick emergency sewing kit if you needed to. And this was used by many peoples around the world as a sewing item. The yucca is also used by like the Southwest American Indians for, depending on how they dry it, will give you different colors, and they'll use it to weave into baskets and things. And prickly pear produces a fruit that's very nutritious and helpful for you. It's also very tasty. It's got like a nice tart sweetness to it. And on the back side here, we've just put in a crop of Jerusalem artichokes. It's a type of sunflower, but you can harvest the tubers in the fall after the foliage dies off from frost. And you pick the biggest ones, throw the small ones back into your bed, and you have a continual source of food. And Jerusalem artichoke has the texture of a water chestnut and the flavor of potato, and it can be eaten either raw, like in salads, or cooked, like you would a potato. And we've also got a couple other fruit type trees up here. We've got pomegranates, a couple of those are still young. We've got a young fig tree that's always struggled to do something here. We got a couple of banks of blueberry bushes here. We get tons and tons of blueberries, and this is one of the perfect environments for it because we have such acidic soil. But we get quite a bounty, and they'll spread by shooting runners under the ground from the roots, so this whole area hopefully one day will be developed into all blueberry bushes that have spread, and we'll get even more to have. And they're, like I say, super tasty. The flower beds over here are also the same mixture of edibles and medicinals with just a few ornamentals thrown in. We have Chinese chestnut trees here. The American chestnuts suffered from a blight that killed off a lot of them, and they're still susceptible to the ones that we still have. And the Chinese chestnuts are resistant to the blight, and we're finally starting to get a good harvest off of them. This area through here is more like just kind of like a maze type garden thing. You can follow me through, and most of the stuff out here is either just for our own pleasure. We do have fruiting quince, but most of the things out here that produce any type of fruit, it's a small, inedible to humans, but edible for birds and wildlife. Because we have crabapple, several different kinds of oak trees, hawthorns, and some smaller plum varieties over here as well.